many interesting things happened, of which the morning is one of them. And I just so happen to have a script prepared for the morning rituals, written in a David Foster Wallace style, to be read to you. Let's do this. I am awake by the gently insistent, if almost passive-aggressive, chime of my phone alarm. This tiny digital voice, it says, effectively, it's time. My body reacts with something akin to comedic resentment. Like I'm a stage actor who hasn't finished memorizing the lines yet, but suddenly finds the spotlight glaring me in the eyes. The bed is so comfortable that the concept of verticality feels foreign. For an instant, a very real, if fleeting possibility arises. I could remain in bed and let the day proceed without me, but reason inserts itself just strongly enough for me to recall the dreaded but non-negotiable errand. My car is due at the mechanic's, so I muster the sort of internal pep talk that only half works, and swing my legs to the floor. I'm convinced that coffee is the only legitimate transitional object between unconscious and conscious life. But my path to coffee, I discovered, has been blocked by the fact that both the oven and microwave were as dark and silent as a tomb. My mother chimes in from the next room, explaining the scenario. Apparently, she tried to run the toaster and microwave, the latter having some borderline possessed short in its wiring, simultaneously. And the kitchen breaker kindly decided enough was enough. Hence, no power, no coffee, and a minor existential meltdown. Off I go, stomping outside in mismatched attire, top half still in sleep mode, and the bottom half in jeans. Plus jacket for the crisp morning air. To flip that breaker. Once restored, the stove's digital clock blinks 12, with a smug sort of ignorance about real time. I can't abide unsynchronized appliances, so I go online to find the website that allegedly syncs everything with cosmic precision, or at least with the official government clock, immediately afterward. I remember that before I can become a full-fledged coffee guzzler, I should probably drink water. Some personal vow about rehydration, although whether this vow is data-driven or purely superstition is uncertain. So in an uncharacteristic display of health discipline, I down 3 tall glasses of H2O. By now, the coffee is gloriously percolating, releasing those honey coffee shop smells. My mother, never one to let a morning slip past in silence, opens her journal to read an entire entry aloud to me. This is not something she does daily, mind you, so I'm simultaneously touched and intrigued. We share a little moment, mate, hovering near that coffee maker, her narrating her innermost musings. I find myself forgetting the day's obligations in favor of her words, though the low-level hum of mechanic keeps trying to reassert itself inside my mind. Finally, it's time. I throw on extra layers in anticipation of both the cold and the automotive shop's typically drafty walking area. Out in the driveway, my car greets me with a brand new quirk. The driver's side window decided, without warning or apparent telegraphing, to drop all the way down to the door the last time it was closed. Me and my mother tried coaxing it, maybe even sweet talking it back into getting up, but all that happened was that the glass kept on sliding down and down into the car door. Suffice to say, not cracked, not shattered, but dramatically AWOL. So I've secured it with the odd wooden panel that looks more like the facade of a henhouse than a placeholder for a car window. My mother starts her own car, ready to follow me. Google Maps instructs us to forsake the main logical route in favor of narrower side roads and turns, and a bizarre approach that actually circles the blocks more times than a disoriented pizza delivery driver. I'm fairly sure it must be adding minutes to the trip, but oddly enough, we arrived perfectly on schedule, which only proves my negativity-laced guesswork is occasionally flawed. We find the mechanic's parking lot fairly stuffed with cars, though we're told no, we're definitely not that busy by the staff. The only open spot I can see is near the bottom rung of the parking lot hierarchy, i.e., out in the far corner where the weeds wave in the breeze. The receptionist, looking about as tired as I feel, asks me to move the car closer to the shop for them to begin their work. So I do the whole inconvenient shuffle back outside, repark back inside, a little sweaty from the early morning logistical tango. The mechanic on duty recognizes me from my last fiasco. I politely explain that the window didn't break, but rather glided down into the door as soon as we closed it, and we discovered we couldn't bring it back up. We tried gentle lifts, forceful hoists, no dice. He nods, apparently unfazed, as if windows dropped into the doors is a normal Monday occurrence. He's a mechanic, after all. Expect that. I hand the keys over like I'm relinquishing parental rights, feeling the mild twinge of helplessness that always accompanies handing your daily transport off to the people with specialized tools and knowledge. We attempt to leave, but discover the alley behind the shop is essentially blocked. A neighboring vehicle up in the front, some other car behind, leaving us pinned like an insect in one of those old-fashioned entomology displays. We linger, scanning for an owner to appear. When he finally arrives, there's a little apologetic wave as he pulls away, and we escape with a distinct sense of relief. Very good indeed. Back home, we slip back into the day's domestic narrative. My mother is still reading from her journal, her voice calm and reassured and measured. At some point, I realize I've completely neglected to check my stocks. An unusual omission for me, since I like to start the day with a mild obsession over market fluctuations. My mother heads off to work, leaving me with the directive to handle the pool filter. I discover the vacuum is already whirring away in the deep end, so I take that as a cosmic license to procrastinate. Instead, I fixed myself a croissant sandwich. The improbable combination of buttery pastry and delicious bacon and egg, and put on Sardonicast on the background. So the chore of dishwashing, or let's be honest, ignoring said dishwashing, feels a little more cinematic. Eventually, I realize I've left a sink full of dirty dishes and about half a dozen or other undone tasks in the wind. But I get caught up writing a story with Google Gemini instead, losing track of time of the uniquely modern way where you're half engrossed in your creative output and half listening to a podcast and wholly avoiding the residue of adult obligations. And that's how, despite a shorted out kitchen, a labyrinthian route to the mechanics, and a cameo by the person who blocked us in the alley, I ended up in my mid-morning duties of crafting a story. Metaphorically shrugging as I poured my second cup of coffee, because in the end, when we arrived on time, the rest, as they say, is content. Fun fact, I tend to assume everything's going to cost me at least an extra 10 minutes, possibly because the universe has taught me not to expect punctuality from technology. This time, though, it was a pleasant surprise. And that is the end of the specialized writing of my morning. Everything from here is completely off the cuff and raw. Let's get into it. So, after I was done rewriting my mornings, which I did by talking into my phone's recorder and then having everything I said transcribed, and then copying and pasting that into Google Gemini and asking for tips and ways to make it more cohesive and engaging for an audience. I had a fairly decent, standard version of the story. And then later, I decided to take this version of the plot and then ask O1, a writing program, to rewrite it in David Foster Wallace style. So in case you were wondering if that was actually me writing everything, I'm not here claiming any of that. Nope. That was entirely a writing program's responsibility. I simply just oversaw everything and made minor tweaks and suggestions as needed, while also providing the base story as a jumping off point that was refined and crafted to be more interesting. Because the way I describe things, I feel, is very just talking at the audience, and I'm trying to find ways of making my writing feel more like I'm talking with the audience, or just letting them into my world in an objective sense where they can make decisions on their own without me telling them what to think. So yeah, and I thought, what better way than to mimic a writing style similar to one of the more interesting writers of our time, Mr. David Foster Wallace, who's sadly no longer with us, but his legacy lives on thanks to books like Infinite Jest and his sardonic and introspective view of the world. So, pretty cool. Okay, so after that, what I remember is I basically just watched even more YouTube, listened to even more podcasts, cleaned the pool filter eventually, put away some dishes, but not all the dishes, not in the dishwasher, and just generally was rather a lazy person on my day off, I have to be honest. Not a very pretty sight, but hey, at least I did a few interesting things here or there. And hey, I did help out in in some capacity with the pool filter and with the dishes, but not as much as I really should have. So, yeah, that's a shame. Although we did have a great time, me and my family. We went and got a pizza from a place called Brickhouse Pizza. It was pretty good. No Pizza Mania, though. That's my high bar I judge all pizzas on. It was still all right. And after that, um, we went to pick up my. Oh yeah. Wait, no. Before we got the pizza, me, my mom, and one of my sisters went to get some grout spray to fix the outdoor bathroom. And then after that, I was dropped off at the car shop to pick up my newly freshly minted vehicle, which now runs like a dream and at a severely reduced cost than it was previously going to be. It was going to be like $1,900, and the honest mechanics found a way to get down to $1,300, which was awesome. And I was able to pick it up right before the shop closed, so that was even better. Drove away with it, and then when it arrived at the house, um, me and our birthday friend went to get the pizza, which I paid for my friend. We went back to the house, and we had the pizza with me, my two sisters of 3, and my mother, and our birthday family friend. And then we went to pick up my sister's car, and then finally we went to see this movie called Flow, which was a very artistic and thoughtfully crafted movie, which had zero dialogue. It was basically just animals, like a cat who goes on a boat with a dog and like a bunch of other animals. I forget their names right now, like a dog, a bird, and these like the King Julian Madagascar mirror or whatever they're called. I'm forgetting right now. And the last one. A bunch of animals. They go on an adventure, and it was very artistic and very interesting and neat to watch. That's like, we drove back to the house. We had a nice cake and ice cream, and then my sisters parted ways, and I decided to record this update for the channel. That's about everything. Thank you for listening, and let me know what you thought. Have a great day.